Hello, my name is Camilla Elliott. I teach in the Department of English Literature and Creative Writing at Lancaster University. This workshop is about Ted Hughes' poem Hawk Roosting, which was written in 1960. It combines instruction with activities that you can do independently or in discussion with others. You can watch just the beginning, which gives you a basic overview of the poem, or you can continue on with the video and dig in more deeply. But the first thing we have to ask about any poem is, what is the poem about? Once we have a basic understanding of the poem, then we can add these cultural contexts and these poetic features to enrich our analysis and to create stronger essays. Let's begin by reading the poem. I sit in the top of the wood, my eyes closed, in action. No falsifying dream between my hooked head and hooked feet, or in sleep rehearse perfect kills and eat. The convenience of the high trees, the air's buoyancy and the sun's ray are of advantage to me, and the earth's face upward from my inspection. My feet are locked upon the rough bark. It took the whole of creation to produce my foot, my each feather. Now I hold creation in my foot. Or fly up and revolve it all slowly. I kill where I please, because it is all mine. There is no sophistry in my body. My manners are tearing off heads, the allotment of death. For the one path of my flight is direct through the bones of the living. No arguments assert my right. Sun is behind me. Nothing has changed since I began. My eye has permitted no change. I'm going to keep things like this. So the poem is about a hawk settling down for the night, describing its state of mind and how it sees its surroundings, its body, its beginnings, its origins, its daily activities, hunting, and its relationship to its prey. The hawk is perfectly satisfied with all of these. It wants to keep things like this. Now, some critics have read this poem as Ted Hughes' attempt to imagine the mental state of a hawk, a predator who is at the top of the food chain, who kills to survive, out of instinct, not emotion, not strategy to gain more power. But other critics don't buy that. They see that the poem uses the hawk as a metaphor to explore human psychological states like narcissism and sociopathic violence, as well as the mindset of totalitarian despots. The fact that Hughes naturalizes these mental states and social systems through the figure of the hawk disturbs these critics. And the representation of the hawk as an almost godlike being carries the disturbing human ethics that are being canvassed here into troubling ethics about theologies of God. At the same time, there's something comical about a hawk expressing a Darwinian view of nature. At the same time, he insists that everything will stay the same. According to Darwin, everything evolves, nothing stays the same. Now, if you're trying to decide between these two readings, you can go verse by verse. So the first verse is really pretty much pure animal, thinking only about hunting and falling asleep and dreaming only about hunting. But the second stanza begins to align the hawk with human ways of thinking about ourselves as the center of the universe, as beings in a universe where everything is there for us to serve us. And the third stanza thinks about the hawk in terms of a myth of creation, and yet it's one in which he's not a humble creature created by God, but rather a creature who has been made by everything else, but then now seizes it and holds it and shrinks it down so it can hold it in one tiny foot. There is an attitude to the rest of creation that reduces it into this tiny little pronoun it, as well as this object that it claims it can hold in one of its feet. And it justifies the hawk killing wherever he pleases because everything is his. This language, this attitude goes beyond just the instinctive need to hunt and kill to survive. There is a sense of power and authority and almost a divine right to kill and to destroy that is distinctly human. And the lack of reasoning, argumentation, or hiding behind clever speech to cover what he does is not simply the natural instinct of the hawk, but it is the way that despots and totalitarian rulers treat what they rule. The longer video in this playlist discusses 5 different contexts that can enrich our understanding of the poem. This bite-sized workshop looks at just one. So let's start with author biography. This is a photograph of Ted Hughes. Ted Hughes was born into a lower middle class Yorkshire family, and he often went hunting and fishing with his older brother. Although this is not a photo of him, it's one taken from the period when he was a child. Going out hunting in nature and watching animals hunt each other gave him a view of nature as an astonishingly beautiful, but also a savage realm where animals destroy other animals and humans destroy animals as well. Another essential thing to consider when you're reading a poem is the poem's form and how that informs its meaning. If you think about words, they are the building blocks of poems. They create structures of meaning, just like bricks, windows, and walls create houses. Each kind of word has a particular function and does a particular thing. So in your analysis of any poem, you want to pay attention to different kinds of words. Sometimes it helps to understand a poem by just choosing one kind of word and tracing it across the poem. That's what we're going to do here. In the longer video, we look at several kinds of words, but here we'll look at just one: personal pronouns. Let's start now with the personal pronouns. These are I, me, mine, my, you, yours, we, ours, she, hers, he, his, it, its, they, theirs. Those are personal pronouns. What I'd like you to do is pause the video and underline, circle, highlight, make a list of all of the personal pronouns that you can find in this poem. When you're ready, let's continue on. I've highlighted the personal pronouns that I have found in this poem, and analyzing them as a separate category of words, just like you might analyze the windows in a building, really strengthens reading instead of just going line by line. What the personal pronouns here do is they emphasize the narcissism of the hawk and its disregard for other things and other lives. On the previous slide, you saw there are so many different kinds of personal pronouns available to write and express yourself in relation to others. But in this poem, I, my, and mine, highlighted in red, dominate, appearing 21 times. The only other personal pronoun is it, stanza 4. It appears twice. And as we've seen, it is used to encompass the whole of everything that is not the hawk. And it is a highly impersonal pronoun that mirrors the hawk's inability to see other things, other entities, as having any kind of identity or subjectivity, no gender, where they're not plural, they're all singular, And so this would be something to write into your essay that would make for a really strong statement about the form of the poem. Now, this may be all you'd like to do. You may just be looking for one thing to put into your essay. But for those of you who'd like to see what more you can do by tracing words, we're going to go on now and have a look at another part of speech. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to know more and do more activities, look at the longer video workshop on this channel in this playlist. I hope you've enjoyed this workshop video. Thank you for watching, listening, and participating in this workshop. If you're interested in learning more about what it's like to study English literature or creative writing or both at university, you can start with our website. Feel free to contact us with any questions. I wish you well in your studies.